And we're live. Welcome everyone who's joining us today. I'm Deborah Craig. I am here with this live today. I am a personal coach and hypnotherapist, and I am joined today with the amazing Ekua. I'll get the way to say it properly. Sorry about that. Ekua Cant, who is a career and mindset coach. And she is this amazing coach that helps ambitious women get the mindset that they need to be having that ultimate career impact and freedom in their life. And I'm going to bring Ekua on in just a few moments. I'll just give a few minutes more to find out if anyone else is joining us live. So for anyone that doesn't know, I'm a personal coach and hypnotherapist, and I am the founder of Transformative Hypno Coaching. And what I do is I help women step into their power, realize their true potential in relationships, careers, and their life by healing their past, building ultimate self-confidence, and thriving in any future that they choose. And I do that with my model of transformative hypno coaching. Hi, Joe. Great to have you here. And transformative hypno coaching takes you on a journey to dive into the past and really find out what's holding you back, what those things are that have happened in your from everything from childhood all the way through your experiences that's blocking you making those changes, and then help you grow in confidence and self-esteem, self-belief, so that you can then map out a journey towards any life that you want to have. And that is what I do. So without further ado, let's get the amazing Ekua Cant on live. I will just stream her in now, and fingers crossed we have everything working today. And it's worked this time, Ekua. Amazing to have you here. So lovely to see you. How are you today?
Hi, Deborah. I'm well. Thank you so much for that kind introduction. And yeah, it was really great to hear more about you and what you do. So I'll also just give a brief introduction and let everyone know who is watching a bit more about me. Yes, so I am a career coach, but I focus on mindset and also really just helping women to transition in their careers, whether that's to a new job, or whether that's to sort of, just go in a different direction. And the other thing is really about helping them to determine what career success looks like for them, for them to feel empowered and to know that their journey is individual. And it's not, beholden by anyone but themselves, and defining what that success looks like to them is super important, and helping them to feel empowered to create what it is that they want to do. So that is what I do. The second thing is that I recently wrote a book last year, and that's called Be a No1 Cheerleader. And that book is all about using the growth mindset for career and business, and really using an optimistic mindset to help you to, think about how to approach your life and your career, and with some different tools and strategies that are in the book. So that's me.
Sounds amazing. Yes, I'm sorry about that. I did omit to say that you were an author as well, just to add to all the other accolades that you've got. That is fantastic. So today what we're going to do over this next 30 minutes or so is we're going to both share the fact that we have both gone through career transitions, changes, and many different ones to reach the stage that we are now as our own business owners and entrepreneurs. And sometimes it's, we can tell people about the mindset, and we're going to get into all of that today. But if you're out there today, you are feeling stuck, you are fed up in the job that you're in, you've always dreamed about doing something else, but you've just never had the courage to go after it, and you don't even know where to start. Well, I hope today is going to give you that inspiration, because the two women that you're listening to right now have the lived experience, they've made the mistakes, and we're here to share some of that with you, to inspire you, to motivate you, and then to share some of our most important tips, support, and advice if you decide you want to take that journey. So let me briefly just tell the audience, for those that don't know, certain parts about my journey, and then I'll hand over to Ekua as well. So for me, like many of you that might be listening, I fell into a corporate career and it was just circumstantial. Family situations, you just don't know what's going to happen in your life. You leave school, you're not sure what you're doing, or you have a dream and it doesn't feel achievable. So you fall into a corporate career. Luckily for me, it was very successful. I enjoyed it in the main, but something that I always knew was missing, and it's what kept me feeling that I wanted to change roles. So even when I was in my big corporate company, when I worked in financial services, I just wanted to keep climbing the ladder, changing things up, trying a different sector, because I was getting really frustrated that I felt unfulfilled. And it was at that point, when I reached a certain age, actually 39 to be exact, I made a decision that I wouldn't go on any longer like this. And that decision pivoted me towards going after my degree, which I got in psychology and counselling, but it allowed me to start, excuse me, the journey to transition. And my first transition was into the mental health sector with the NHS and the third sector. And then finally, the final transition into what I do now, which is my own business and entrepreneur. So that was my journey. And I'll get into a bit more about why we did it and how we got through that once we hear a bit more from Ekua and her own personal journey. So over to you.
Okay, yeah, brilliant. So my journey is I studied political science at university, and I graduated and became a civil servant working for the UK government. Initially, I was a personal assistant, and then I developed an interest in project management and the tech space. So I was fortunate to have a good manager that enabled me to explore my interest in tech, and then train to become a project manager and leave that personal assistant position behind, and then do some IT project manager roles in the civil service. But for me, I always had a kind of a hankering that I wanted to do something entrepreneurial, but I wasn't ever really sure that I could do it full time. I was a bit scared, a bit worried. I didn't really want to sort of do anything risky. At that point in my life, I was sort of very much focused on a stable career, doing something where there's clear progression, and where the roadmap was kind of laid out for me if I was to choose to follow it. But I decided, whilst I was in the civil service, that I would sort of dabble in entrepreneurship and startups. So I joined a lot of meetup groups, and I went to those groups to kind of like get a feel and a flavour for that sort of thing. And then eventually I took that to creating my own sort of side hustles while I was working in the civil service. And then eventually I left the civil service to become a contract project manager, because I felt that whilst I was in the civil service, I wasn't getting the career progression opportunities that I felt that I deserved. And by becoming a contractor, I was able to get those opportunities. So I thought, yeah, that's a good place for me to be. But then I still had that niggling thing about the entrepreneurship, and wanting to get back to that. So after doing the contract PM work, I decided to do a full-time entrepreneurship sort of a startup, and that business is called DrinkSpot. And that business was what I had a lot of service layers, but essentially it led me to where I am today, because essentially it failed, but it made me realize what I was truly passionate about, and that's coaching and mentoring.
And here you are to tell the tale. And it's really interesting that although we have different industries, you can see where we both had the same feelings. You called it the niggle, and it just hit the nail on the head there when you were saying it. That is exactly the feeling that I felt. I couldn't put my finger on, what was it that was making me feel as if I constantly had itchy feet, because I was climbing the ladder, I was learning, I was developing, and that was great. And it satisfied me for a while with each career progression. But like yourself, something just kept feeling that shifting sands under your feet. So if anybody out there listening right now is thinking the same as we're feeling, had felt that niggle, you're trying different things and just everything is just not quite hitting the mark, the chances are you're probably not doing exactly what it is that you would love to do. And for myself, the reason that I was feeling the niggle was because for a very long time, I had always been a person that even without doing the job, I coached people. It was actually part of the job that I did in corporate when I was in people management. But my whole life I'd been like people's personal cheerleaders, and I had never capitalized on that. I never knew you could, to be honest. I didn't even think having a business was an option for me. And I'd always had a passion about mental health and psychology. And at that point, 39, I just got to that stage and I went, I have to go all in here and start to think about what does my next steps look like, just like you did. And one of the things that I loved about what you talked about there, and this is really important for anyone watching, when you had the idea, you started to put yourself into the groups and go to maybe like educate yourself on areas that were of interest to you. So what was it, like meetups or something like that you were saying it was, or
Yes,
what was
yeah,
it?
I went to tech meetups.
Tech meetups, right? So for anybody watching, if there's areas of industries that you're interested in that you think you might want to know more about, that is probably a good idea, is to go along to some of the meetups and be able to get some of your questions answered. Also, we're living in a world right now where everything is went online. So there's so many webinars out there, ours included, I might add, but we'll talk about that at the end. But there's so many webinars that you can get educated on that if you're curious, what's 45 minutes or an hour of your time? You can actually find out a lot from these webinars and, really understand, is this where I want to go? So thank you for sharing that. Thanks for sharing your journey. As I said, we both had the niggle and we both wanted, by the sounds of it, more freedom and more feeling like we were really doing something that we loved. And I certainly know that I wanted to help people. That sits at the top. And I know that's really high level. And in a business, you have to niche it down. Who do you want to help? How do you want to help them? But ultimately, right at the top, I just want to help people. I want to help them have the best possible life. And that's the sense that I get from yourself, Ekua, when you talk about how you want to help them with the coaching side. Just want to give me any other feedback on that?
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, for me, there was a theme of helping people through being personal assistant and through the IT stuff that I was doing, because essentially you are a coach and a relationship manager in that kind of role. So that really kind of has always been something that's been constant, but I've never sort of had the confidence, and I had the imposter syndrome, which prevented me from taking this route, which I've finally taken, but it took me a long time to get there.
And that's really interesting because it takes me on to the next point, which is, what were the challenges that we experienced? So fire away. You just mentioned imposter syndrome. Could you maybe, for the audience that maybe don't know that terminology and they might resonate with the actual essence of what it is, they just might not know what it's called. So could you just elaborate a bit more on what you would class as imposter syndrome?
Yeah, sure. So, I mean, I always knew that I could, I was good at helping people, mentoring them, providing guidance and support. But I never felt that I was qualified enough, or I felt that I had enough experience to be a person who was selling their services as a professional and someone that people should trust and put their faith in. So that's kind of why I felt that I was sort of not, I was well, I felt I was almost not good enough to provide that service. And that's kind of my definition of imposter syndrome in that instance.
That makes sense. And for me, I recognize imposter syndrome as well, because when I had done a lot of training and I was moving out of the final sort of paid job environment to then start a business, I definitely get hit with imposter syndrome. Who am I to be in front of someone and claim that I can help them, get to the dentist because of their dental phobia? Because this is what I used to do right at the start of when I became a hypnotherapist. Who am I to say that I could be somebody that could help someone with their confidence and their belief systems and really help them uncover what's holding them back? So I totally get that. However, after you move past that and you get the right mindset for yourself, you have a sort of internal shift and you realize that that's quite an ego perspective when you put yourself in the front of it all the time. But when I just turned it around and put it in the place that, I'm here to help people as best as I can. And along the journey, I'll make mistakes and I'll learn from them and I'll continue to grow. And I think that's one of the biggest things that I would say to anybody watching. Whatever it is that you're doing, even if you try it, there's no such a thing as failure. There's only educating and learning and restarting again and trying something else. So that was one of my challenges as well, was the imposter syndrome. I think the other challenge was, and I don't know if it's a challenge or a benefit actually, because I was quite naive at what was ahead, especially with starting a business, and the whole transition. I actually left corporate after 2 years doing my degree, so I still had 2 years to go. I had a savings pot that I'd saved up, but I had no job to go to. And I think one of the biggest challenges for me, and I don't know if you'll recognize this, was adjusting to life that was no longer corporate. So you spend, I still continue to act like my lifestyle still was similar to what I was like in corporate for about 8 months or more, maybe a year. And then I realized that that's not my life anymore. And if I don't stop spending like I'm still in corporate, I won't have these savings for much longer to invest in the long-term journey. So for anyone out there that's wondering how you can make a transition, that's the way that I did it. I saved up for 2 years while I was doing my degree, while I was still working. It was the Open Uni. Then I left because I wanted to fully immerse myself in the third sector and mental health as a volunteer, and I took a part-time job in the NHS. So that was me making that slow transition across from financial services. What was the sort of first steps that you took, Ekua, when you started to make that transition from one career into the other? What was the sort of key steps that you took there?
So I think for me, like one of the biggest challenges between being a permanent employee and then going to become a contractor was thinking about managing risk. As you said, saving and understanding in my mind that, I can always go back. But I think initially I was just afraid that if I took the leave and I wasn't successful, that was it. I'm done. Like no one else is going to hire me. And that's what I believed. And so that was something that I had to overcome. And then obviously the planning and the saving and, the realization that it takes time. I have to give myself that time and that space. And I also to shift my mindset to transition into this new sort of career, well, not career, this new sort of way of operating where I have to really believe in my value. And that was a real shift that I had to make.
That's spot on. And I think that's one of the things that I say all the time to myself and to other people, is that you need to have that belief in yourself. And I know that can be hard. And it's actually part of a lot of the work that I do with clients where they've maybe had, toxic relationships, toxic work situations, really difficult upbringing, whatever it is that's really knocked their internal programming, so that they believe that they're not worthy of being able to have a better career or transition into something that they love. But ultimately, when you work on that and rewrite a new story for yourself, you can create any life you want. It just takes, as we've both said, a little bit of planning, a little bit of saving, and then knowing where you want to go, even for the first few steps. So as I said, for myself, I saved up. I left with the notion that I was going to get involved in the third sector voluntary, because how else was I going to fully transition career into what I wanted to do? But there are other ways to do it. You don't have to go in it that way. I mean, you can actually go in at something just being aware that maybe when you do transition career, you might take a reduced salary for a while until you start again here and then build yourself back up. For those out there that are wondering, what are the different ways that you can do it? Is there anything else that you would maybe add to that?
Yeah, I was just gonna say that I feel that a lot of people and women especially think that it's either all or nothing, and I would encourage us all to think that there's phases and there's ways to do it in hybrid ways. So if you are feeling like you want to change but you're not entirely sure, then I think whilst stay in your job, but explore opportunities through either meetups or volunteering, or finding out from your contacts in your network about skills gaps that you may need to fill, but really exploring and getting a full picture, but starting that process where you're doing it bit by bit, and you're building it up until eventually, you're ready to either take the leap and leave and transition completely, or decide, actually, hey, this is not what I thought it was going to be, and go in a different direction.
Yeah, you've actually hit something there that's really, I just think is just so on point. Just go in a different direction. I think what happens is when you've done something for so long, so you may be in a career for a long time, an industry for a long time, you think that the next move needs to be this big, monumental thing. It actually doesn't. If you move and you don't like it, that's okay, because you can just go on and find something else. If you try something and it's not what you thought it was, because that's what happened to me in one of my experiences. It was quite a toxic experience, and it certainly wasn't what I imagined. But I put so much pressure on myself to make it the next big thing that it actually really did eat me up inside when I wasn't able to go through the role the way I wanted to. It just didn't turn out what I thought. But when you make that decision to then say, okay, it is just a job in that sense, so I'll just pivot to something else, and then you find a solution, and lo and behold, something else comes up. You can move, and then a whole new world of opportunity happens. I think the key thing is if you're not sure what to do, just do something, because when you do nothing, nothing's going to change. But at least if you do something, you'll speak to somebody, they'll open up a dialogue that creates an opportunity, or they put you in touch with somebody that creates a networking situation where you start to learn more. And then from there, you just don't know what can open up. And I think that was a really pivotal thing about the mindset, is not feeling that if you make a move, that it has to be this way forever. It just doesn't. And you and I, Ekua, have both proven that. Look at all the little steps that we've taken through the promotions in our current, our old jobs, into a brand new career platform, and then into entrepreneur with a business. So, doesn't mean it's going to be easy all the time. We don't underestimate, as we sit here today with my hair just washed and everything's looking like it was an easy breezy ride, because it wasn't always like that. I mean, you have to put the hard work in, especially if you want to transition industry. So I chose to get a degree. That was my way of doing it. You don't have to do that, but the chances are you may have to do some kind of learning. You may have to get a qualification. So how do you fund it? How are you going to get in touch with the right industry, the right organizations? You have to research colleges, research unis, research companies that offer these types of skill sets. Or what I did was also go voluntary, spend some time as a volunteer in the industry that you think you want to be in. Did you do anything like that at all? I'm just curious. I've never asked you this before, and I wonder if there's anything that you did in that space. I know you said the meetups, but I'm just wondering if there was anything else.
No, I think the meetups were the key for me, because being involved in the meetups allowed me to get more informed, but also to meet other people and dip my toes into other people's projects and kind of get a flavour for how things were going, and what I wanted to do potentially in the future. But I think something that's really important that we should talk about, Deborah, is what you talked about with the toxic environment, and how you handled that. Because I think that people need to know that you need to heal from those environments, and then when you're thinking about making transitions, you can't do that with a clear conscience if you haven't taken the time to heal from a situation, which was unfortunately unpleasant and negative. Because when you try to go forward and change direction and try to renew yourself, you kind of feel stuck, and you kind of are not able to give it the zeal and the real enthusiasm and have the creativity and the mindset to be able to take it forward. And you feel that, why is it not working? And it's not working sometimes because you've not dealt with the past. So Deborah, reflect on that and give more light, because I'm sure you can give better suggestions. But I feel that you can,
100%, and thank you for actually bringing that up, because I can reflect on many, many clients that I've worked with, and this exact thing is what you're talking about. They've had toxicity in their working environment. They've had difficulties in their life where they see the world from just a different perspective. They're not enjoying their work. They feel stuck. But to think about applying for something else either fills them with dread, because they're terrified of rejection, because it's going to knock them even further, or they are in a place where they're just applying for anything and everything. Panic, panic, panic. I just need to get out of here. It's terrible. It's terrible. And when you come from that place, it's like that desperation place. You also are not coming from the right place. And if I reflect back on a personal situation, so when I was in it, I took time to step back, reflect on what was happening, and I made a conscious decision to disconnect myself energetically from the toxic role and environment. And when I took that time back to myself, I took my own power back. All of a sudden, nothing that was happening could touch me. And I decided I was leaving, and I started to put the wheels in motion to look for opportunities, not desperately, just look for opportunities. And then lo and behold, the right one comes up. So I have a number of clients that have experienced something similar. And one of the things that I start working with clients that are in this position is really looking at, where does this come from? Is it just the working environment, or is this further back in life, which is being triggered by the working environment? So again, once you heal that, as you quite rightly say, you really take care of yourself and you step into your power again. Because when you're in a situation that's toxic, you've given your power to somebody else, and they're basically getting to dictate what it's like for you every day in your work. But you're the one in control. You decide how you want to feel. But when you're in it, it sometimes feels too difficult to assert yourself. But when you heal and you take back your power, you can have any future that you want, and you'll be able to confidently apply for jobs, climb the ladder, or change industry. And I've seen it with my own clients. So thank you very much for bringing that up. That is a really on point thing to talk about. So I hope for anyone listening, if you've been experiencing anything like that, then by all means, reach out to myself. I'll be more than happy to have a chat about that. So what I would like to just wrap up in the next few minutes, because I'd like for Ekua to share some of the amazing things that she does with her webinars. So I want to keep a few minutes for that. What would be your one top tip, Ekua, that you could share with the audience today if they're sitting, they feel stuck, or they wish they could be doing something else? What would be the top thing that you would want to share with them?
So my top thing would be to start small and don't try to do it all. Because I think that if you start small, there's less chance of being overwhelmed, and you're able to explore and take your time to really understand, one, yourself, but two, really what you're trying to go into, and what's actually required to make the change that you want to make.
Amazing. My top tip is, you can absolutely do this on your own. We're the evidence of it. However, my top tip is, if you want to do it and do it really well, then the best thing you can do is get yourself an expert that's lived it and that has the experience to hold your hand to do exactly what Ekua said. Break it down, chunk it down, take the small steps, strategically plan, whether it's finances, whether it's learning that you need to do, whatever it is. And in my particular instance, if you're even further back than that even the thought of making a change puts the ultimate fear of God in you, and you just don't feel that it's even available to you, then that's perhaps something where my level of service would be more appropriate, because we would spend the first chunk of the time getting you to step into your power and really heal yourself first, then start to catapult forward. So my advice today is, top tip, get help. You don't have to do it on your own. And if you don't want to be sitting 6 months from now, still in the seat that you're in and thinking, remember Debbie and Ekua were talking about, I'm still here and I'm still hating it, and that person's still toxic and my life's not where I want it to be. Well, you heard it here first. Reach out for help. Yeah, it's going to cost you. Let's be real, but that's just the way life is. If you want to move with pace, then
well,
that's
Deborah, I
just
was going to say, it's an investment, actually. It's how you think about it. It's the mindset, because, what's costing you is being unhappy and being stuck.
Absolutely. You're absolutely spot on. I would say that what you've said there is so true. I've got so many clients that actually say to me, it's the best investment I've ever made coming on board with you. I could never have reached where I am in a short period of time. So if I have a program, say 3 months, they can't believe in 3 months that the massive leaps that they've made, that they know they've been sitting stuck for years and just never been able to move past it. So you're right, it is an investment, absolutely. So before we wrap up, we've got a quick minute or two. Ekua, please share what you've got coming up with webinars, and at the bottom of the post, I will make sure that we put our links in so that if you want to join anything that we've got coming up or search anything about us, everything will be there. So over to you, Ekua.
Oh, okay, great. Thank you. Yeah, so I currently run every Tuesday at 12 p.m. The Career Success Booster Class. It's a 15-minute session where we talk about different issues that will help you to progress and advance in your career. So please do sign up if that's of interest, and that's women only, just to share. The second thing I'm really excited about is I'm currently working on a Christmas stocking filler. So it's called the Kickstart Your Career for 2022. I'm opening the waiting list now. So if you're looking for tools and strategies to help you advance in your career, change your career, build the mindset that you need to have a fantastic 2022, then please do check out the link and share your details in a quick survey.
That is amazing. This is awesome stuff. So please, please, please make sure you tune into what Ekua has got going on. I also will have a webinar coming up in November this month, so later on this month, and I will be talking to you all things about the mind and understanding it better, and also my picture acronym about how you can take yourself on your own personal journey by following my 7 steps. And you will also get to experience a live transformative hypno coaching session on the night. So watch out for that coming up over the next few days when I launch it. And I've got one comment there. Joe has really rightly put in there, we always invest in holidays and things for our home and clothes, yet we always struggle to invest in ourselves. Why? Why do we do that? Ekua and I are the evidence that when you invest in yourself, look at the growth that you can have. So please, from today forward, I hope this has inspired you to take some action. We're here to answer any questions. Definitely join Ekua's booster sessions. When were they? Every
Tuesday at 12.
Every Tuesday at 12 UK time. So please make sure you join that, because you're going to get loads of amazing tips. And I will see you back here next week with another guest. So watch out for that coming into social media platforms to let you know what we've got coming up. So thank you for joining everyone today. Thank you so much for joining me today, Ekua. It's been amazing to have you here and sharing your story. And I will see you all in the next series. Goodbye, everybody.
Oh, brilliant. Thank you.
Bye-bye.